Welcome back to Your TV. Today we have guest Anita Cassidy, who is providing some extraordinary tools and resources through her tech place and through her Burlington Economic Development. And she's letting us know all over Ontario and all over the world that there is economic development teams out there. And so we're focusing, because we're Halton region, on the Burlington Economic Development. But can you just dive a little deeper on that Burlington Economic Development resource that's out there for everybody everywhere?
Yeah, absolutely. So just like every business, we've had to change what we're doing in terms of business support at Burlington Economic Development. So one of the best resources, there's a couple of resources I'll point people to. One is our website, investburlington.ca, and then I believe it's /COVID-19. And so you can find some key resources there in terms of things that we're doing locally for COVID support. So say when we had, nobody expected us all to be having to wear masks in public places. And as a business owner, what does that mean for you? What is your responsibility? For customers and for staff. And then, back, this time last year, we were talking about, are plastic plexiglass shields okay? Do employees have to wear masks behind those? So we put together a mask guide that goes through all of those pieces. And every time we have new regulations come out locally, we try to do that there. Another good example is we recently did some updates to reduce red tape and costs for our businesses, pre-lockdown shutdown, when we were getting ready for patio season to open up. We made it easier for those restaurants to get patio permits, because actually every business that has a patio outside on public land has to get a permit for that. So we tried to make that easier. We got a guide there for that. And then another great resources for COVID is our Burlington Chamber of Commerce, our partners, so burlingtonchamberofcommerce.com. And then if you go on there, there's a big banner up front that talks about Team Burlington. And basically, there's information on there on every kind of grant, funding, all sorts of different resources that you can access as a business. It's a one-stop shop for all of those resources. And again, just like everybody else, we were scrambling during COVID. So we had to create these new resources that put all that piece in one place, because there's so much stuff out there for businesses and it's so confusing. And then the other piece I'd encourage people to do is we actually have a COVID-19 business support line. So businesses can call that directly and they can get support one-on-one from one of our economic development officers. They can describe your business and we can say, okay, these are the types of supports that we think you can access, and here's going to be the easiest ones for you to access. Because again, a lot of these supports, it's great that they're out there, but it's a lot of work for a small business owner to fill out all of that stuff. And then they have monitoring and all those pieces. So, we know which ones are going to be easier for you to manage versus which ones are that's a great to have, but it's going to take way much time for you.
Yeah, right? Oh, this is amazing. I mean, we're talking about, what do I need in COVID? How do I get my patio license? Where do I get more funding? Who else is an ally like the Chamber of Commerce? This is incredible, Anita. And I don't want to put you on the spot, and you may just be arranging all of that. And certainly we at the Disability Channel can help you. But it is also any supports and services for people with disabilities. How do people take care of every customer everywhere? We're all kind of firefighting, so we focus on the general masses. But we forget that after 2017, a majority of the population are over 55. So that means a majority of the population may or may not be tech savvy, may or may not have hearing loss, may or may not have mobility impairments, may or may not have visual loss, right? Not totally blind. So there's a lot of people being impacted with disabilities out there that are your customers. And so any supports in COVID about diversity and inclusion, and if not, we can support you. I don't want to put you on the spot, but is that something that exists or will exist in the near future?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a number of different pieces there. One, there's kind of the broader accessibility piece for people with disabilities who want to access a business in general. So say you're in a wheelchair and you want to go into a business and the door isn't wide enough. Or they don't have an automatic door push or things like that. So that's actually supported through, there's been changes to the building code over the last 10 years. So say when we set up Tech Place, for example, the existing doors and other items that we had on there actually wouldn't accommodate a wheelchair. So we had to put in other items like that to make sure that the space was fully accessible. And there are actually funding supports out there from the Ontario government to be able to do
Yes.
those adaptations to your business.
I
And
think
then
that
I think
scares
something
people.
that, people don't really think about during COVID-19 is the bigger impact that this has on people with disabilities and accessibility.
Yes.
And this is something that I noticed personally. I for a long time because both of my sisters have disabilities, so I've always been aware of this growing up. And even just the masks coming in, my sister's deaf, so like that creates a huge issue for like lip reading, which is like a primary form of communication for her. Yes, she has her hearing aid, but she
Yeah.
needs to be able to read lips to understand what's going on. And that's now, she fills in the gaps between her hearing aids with reading lips. So that's a huge accessibility issue. And there's a number of options there, including you might have seen like masks with like the clear little shields and things like that. But obviously, and even just, talking about our patio program as well, part of that was, as a city, we need to make sure that when they put those patios out, the sidewalks are still fully accessible so that people with disabilities can make sure, and elderly people who have issues going up and down steps and ramps and things like that, to make sure it's fully accessible as we roll out these changes for the business community. But absolutely, and as we know, there's been a larger impact, not just to people with disabilities, but also other underrepresented groups like people with visible minorities, and then women have been particularly hard hit by COVID. And that's something that we and other levels of government are looking at in terms of our recovery strategies, to say, what are the extra supports and extra economic strategies that we need to put in place to make sure that these groups in particular are able to fully participate in the economy again, because they've been particularly hard hit.
Extraordinary. Yes, I have a friend also with hearing loss, and we go to, I'm her wheels, and she's my legs. I have missing both of my legs. I'm a 4-way amputee, so we're a funny twosome when we go in. She lifts and does shopping, and I drive her there because she doesn't drive, which is so funny.
But yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. My sister and one of our close friends, my sister's deaf and our friend is blind. And so I don't know if you remember that movie, See No Evil, Hear No Evil from the 80s. They were quite the pair when they were a teenager because they'd always go around together and they'd both be in denial about their disabilities. So they crutch for each other.
We hide denial each other, right? It's so true. But it is, if people are afraid that if they make an adaptations or they even go down that road, they're going to be dinged and shut down. But what you're saying is there is funding out there. They just don't know that it exists. So
absolutely,
you're someone that can help direct them into finding that funding. And I love, like, how do you open up your patio in COVID? But that includes, remember, the path needs to be this wide for walkers, for ladies with strollers. There's babies out there. It's not just about accessibility. People who have broken their leg and they've got a width that they need for crutches. So it's everyone everywhere. People with a broken leg, people with a stroller, people elderly with a walker, people who use a wheelchair. And come on, let's face it, we've all tripped, whether we have a disability or not. So we need those tripping hazards removed for vision loss, for hearing loss, for mobility impact, whether it's stroller or wheelchair or broken leg. Anita, I am so grateful that Burlington Economic Development and Tech Place are out there, and investburlington.ca is a resource for so much, for tips and tricks and survival on multiple levels. And so for women, for underrepresented minorities, like people with disabilities and others, you guys are flagging it, and it's a plan. And clearly, Anita Cassidy cares. I keep repeating her name so you can find her Twitter handle. She cares because she lives it too. She has lived experience with her family. I want to say thank you so much for joining us. Any last words before I do the show wrap up?
Well, thank you for having me, Tracy. This has been really great chatting to you. And again, for resources for supporting your business, techplace.ca for those early stage technology businesses, investburlington.ca/COVID-19 if you're interested in those local resources, and burlingtonchamberofcommerce.com for that one-stop shop for all those resources you need for your business.
Oh, I feel like you have just thrown me a lifeline. You know when you're drowning and they throw those ring preservers into the water? I just visit her sites, because talk about an abundance of solutions and gold nuggets for survival for everyone everywhere. Thank you so much for joining us today. for being that lifeline. Anita Cassidy with Burlington Economic Development and Tech Place. Be sure to visit the resources. Thank you for tuning in to Your TV for the Halton region. And thank you for joining Unstoppable Tracy with the Disability Channel, also on Roku. Be sure to tune in and watch us upcoming episodes with folks like Youth Connect, and watch out for past episodes like Skills Ontario and trade shows and looking for trade skill development. So all of you entrepreneurs, look out for Burlington Economic Development and find their website, investburlington.ca. Thanks for joining Your TV on Unstoppable Tracy and Anita Cassidy and the Disability Channel. Bye for now.